What can we do?
March 2014. A ranger breaks down in tears. The war has hit home. Once again, Aberdare National Park has lost an elephant to the poachers. The oldest and the most friendly elephant in the park. The reality sinks down the spines, and so far, the money in the rhino's horns and elephant tusks override the ideality of life. Now, at least 59 rhinos were killed in the year 2013. This number actually doubles the number of rhinos that were killed in the year 2012. And in this year alone, 16 rhinos have so far been killed in our national parks by the poachers. This appears to be a crisis. Research shows that rhino and elephant poaching has been with us since 1940s. It is an irrefutable fact that poaching activities nearly go unabated, with at least 384 elephants killed in the year 2012, while 302 elephants reportedly killed in the year 2013. This has prompted the Cabinet Secretary for Natural Resources, Water and Environment to form a task force that will investigate and make recommendations on how to curb poaching in this country.
Ivory do not belong to us. So let the elephants carry their own burden. Let them carry their ivory. It belongs to them.
An authority of Kenyan seaports and airports as important transit points for illicit ivory has made the country to be precluded in the top 8 countries with the worst poaching activities, infamously referred to as the Gang of 8.
We have to do what we call pairing. That is when we can establish the number of elephants. But you can clearly see from my estimation that these are over 100 elephants.
228 big tusks, and the small ones are 74. So we are talking of about 3 tons.
Essentially, the Kenyan Wildlife Service officers are pushing beyond the requisite limits in their duties.
I'm aware KWS has formed an elite rapid response unit to work alongside the anti-poaching elite crack unit in readiness to take up the role at the lapse of 1 year of its tenure as envisaged.
Often circumstances which by default appear designed by the international network of poachers have excluded them from the archetype of their primary goals. There have been stern accusations that Kenya wildlife officers have had major laxities in their bid to curb poaching. We are out to find the truth in practical assessments with the service officers. And my search for the veracity begins at the headquarters, the Nairobi National Park. Nairobi is the only city in the entire world with a national park. This could be both beneficial and detrimental as well. At least the service has been able to train well over 6,000 paramilitary officers to keep the animals safe. Whether this huge number can be equated to the security or rather the insecurity of the animals, that is something we are yet to find out. It's a holiday. Kenyans are celebrating the day the country attained self-rule. It's on the same busy day that I want to meet a man well known for fighting poaching in this country. Mr. Emmanuel Koech has been working in the service for decades. He is the commander of the southern region that includes 3 major parks. He has vast experience in dealing with poachers. But the uncertainty of dreaded poachers is an obvious crisis. As if the year 2013 was the worst for the Kenyan animals, 2014 has also picked up on the same disheartening mood.
5 million was offered to them, but they refused because they love their country. We love our heritage. We have a duty. We have a duty. And we have a duty. Now we are going to do all that it takes. The government is going to do all that it takes to ensure that the culprits are brought to book.
Poaching business has silently crept into the service. 17 service officers were recently sent home on the grounds that they were part of the poaching cartel in Kenya. 13 others were retired in the interest of the public, but the commander's answer leaves a lot to be desired.
Let me put this one straight. Recently, some officers were sent on leave. They were not suspended. They were not sacked. They were sent on leave. Compulsory. Not compulsory leave. Everybody took these leave days. It was not compulsory. People often to think that they were involved in poaching. No. They were not involved in any way with poaching.
Poaching is an international network, and it seems as if politics also play a part. How big is this international web of poachers, and how does it injure Kenya in particular?
I'm not sure politics as a hand, but what I'm saying is politics is part of our life. In every aspect of life, politics is with us. Like any other society, you have criminals, you have people who may think otherwise, but with such people around, if they are caught, law will take this course.
The government has since formed a special anti-poaching unit to stop the killing of rhinos and elephants while in and out of the parks. This joins the many campaigns that have been going on in the country.
This work is very important to us because killing of elephants is a crime, and to us we are saying no, and we are warning those people who are out there to destroy the elephants.
And most of them who use firearms, if they are lucky, they will come out alive. Most of them have been killed in the act because, as I mentioned earlier, we have 24 hours surveillance in our rhino and elephant conservation areas.
Mr. Koech has put a very spirited defense for the Kenyan Wildlife Service, but to make my misgivings accurate, I would like to make an evaluation of the service capacity and ability in combating poaching.
Now, Kenya is facing soaring levels of poaching that has since put our wildlife, particularly the rhinos and the elephants, on the brinks of disastrous circumstances. There are serious measures which have been put in place to ensure that poaching is curbed in this country. Today, I want to be part of an experience of the guardians of the world, the people who keep our wildlife safe in our national parks.
Corporal Stanley Irungu is leading the team in a bridged course in foot and arm drills, weaponry, fieldcraft and minor tactics, map reading and global positioning system GPS, wildlife studies, radio communication, and finally on the methods of instructional techniques, MOIT. Nairobi National Park is well over 117 square kilometers in size. In less than 2 hours, the rangers cover over 40 kilometers.
Kama ni hatari, kama sio hatari, tuna confirm.
This is not an easy task. We are exhausted. And Corporal Irungu files his report to his boss, who in turn filed the same report to Mr. Emmanuel Koech at the headquarters.
We have been in patrol, covered the part of Western Forest area. The building was calm.
Ya wanaume wamekava hiyo area vizuri kwa foot patrol na wameripoti kwangu kwamba hiyo area ni nzuri, wameona wanyama.
Now, the Wildlife Conservation and Management Act 2013 clearly outlines 3 key points that would help curb poaching in this country, especially with regards to ensuring proper usage, management and conservation of our wildlife in the parks. But poaching is a life that is fighting so hard to survive. It is full of risk to topple an ancient culture of conservation and preservation that has still stand unpredictable, not only in Kenya, but all over the world. Poaching comes to kill, steal, and destroy.
1 kilogram of ivory in China goes for around $900. This is the greatest motivation in the business. To understand the international network of poachers in terms of the market size, trending techniques of poaching, and the way forward for Kenya, we are going to the African Nazarene University. We want to talk to one professor who has led several investigations on wildlife in Kenya, and he has some dossier to give a free rein on. So who are the poachers?
And I like your question very much, because your question to some extent does not involve Kenyans. The person who poaches in this country is maybe a Chinese, is maybe somebody from Saudi Arabia who is chasing the rhino horns. It's a crisis because it involves money. It is a crisis because it involves very strong government. But you see the question, and my question is here, is it difficult to trace where the horns are taken? Is it difficult for a government to do that? Do we know? If we know, is it difficult for us to have a dialogue with the country?
In his recent visit to Kenya, the Chinese Prime Minister pledged to help Kenyan government fight poaching.
To support Africa's effort in wildlife protection, the Chinese government has already identified the protection of wildlife as one of the priority areas of assistance from China to African countries. And in the next few years, the Chinese government will contribute $10 million for that purpose.
So the Kenyan Wildlife Service made an arrangement for the Prime Minister to unveil a plaque that would set a footing on the international campaign against poaching, particularly in China. To everyone's shock, the officers say that the Chinese Prime Minister declined to unveil the plaque. Reasons still unknown.
This is not the bottom up, this is the top down. Because we know where these rhino horns go. We know, and people know. There are cartels in this country who are connected. Okay? Actually, you can call them employees of the big foreign governments.
The only way to fight this crime is a joint effort between governments, and especially those countries that have been mentioned of dealing with game trophies.
The worst offending countries in ivory trade have been given a strict deadline to eradicate or reduce their involvement in poaching activities, or else face serious sanctions. And Kenya is one of them as a supplier. The other supplying countries include Uganda and Tanzania. The sanction also hangs on Malaysia, China, Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam as destinations or transit locations for the ivories.
If the government knows where these natural resources go, yeah, it is political. It's no longer a gun. It is no longer the warden. No, it is politics. It's networking, just like the drugs. And is managed by people with money. People with money who can buy to the level which I don't want to mention. They can freeze the courts, they can freeze any government, they can freeze the government offices, and they can freeze almost anything. They can also freeze the police and the KWS.
I know the government of Kenya is doing a lot in terms of fighting this crime, but with the market outside there, poaching will still continue.
they will now sign a memorandum of understanding on cooperation in forestry and ecological conservation.
In an honest assessment, Kenyan government is ready to fight poaching and is doing its best to curb the vice. The Kenya Wildlife Service officers too are up to the task and doing a good job. But poaching has formed part of our politics, economy, and social life. Eradicating poaching will require serious political will like never before, including burning political bridges where necessary. My name is Obar.